Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Chase here at Rocky Mountain. Thank you so much for checking in. So today I've got the all-new Arai XD5, new for 2024. In my opinion, the XD4 was long overdue for an update. I think that helmet had been around for over 10 years with no revision. But what's nice is that the XD4, a lot of riders here at Rocky Mountain have used that helmet for years on our dual sport adventure rides. It's always been one of our favorites. The fit, some of the features about the XD4 we absolutely love, but again, there are some things that Arai could improve on. I'm glad to see that they went through and they've updated this helmet. Now, I'm not going to say it's an all-new helmet from the ground up, because when you look at it, they're using the same shell construction. They didn't update the safety features, which is something that I was kind of hoping for. You're still going to have the same shell, the same EPS liner, all that on the inside, but a lot of the changes are going to be with the fit, the shell shape. The peak is obviously a very different design, the shield on the front, and the venting. So a lot of changes to the helmet, but you can see it still looks very similar to an Arai XD4. And as far as the fit goes, the fit's going to be very similar. Like I said, many riders here over the years have worn the XD4. One rider I talked to wore the XD3, now the XD4. He's going to be in the XD5 coming up next, and he is going to do a comparison of the two to see how they compare in different categories. If the fit is really any different at all, he's going to compare it as far as the aerodynamics, because with this new peak design, they're going to try and eliminate and reduce some of that buffeting, make it easier on your neck, reduce some of that strain, and then just some other little nuances with the visor, or excuse me, the shield, and some of the other changes that they did make. And we're going to go through and talk about all those today in this video. But like I said, don't take my word for it. Go see what people are saying about the XD4. And I think one of the more common things you're going to hear about is how comfortable this helmet is. I think a lot of riders just have always loved how the Arai fits. Now, keep in mind, we have our fit guarantee. I did have that rider that rode in the XD3, the XD4. I had him try this on, and he said, yeah, it feels just like my previous Arai. One change that we will talk about, though, is the width of the shell. They did update that a little bit, but he said it feels very similar. Now, we do have our fit guarantee. If you buy this helmet, if you're not happy with how it fits, you can send it back to us in brand new, unused condition. And here's what we do. We give you free shipping both ways on your first exchange. So if you get a helmet, what I recommend, take the cheek pads out, put it on, and see how it feels around the crown of your head, because that's going to be the most crucial part of that fitment. Make sure it feels good. If it doesn't, we'll give you free shipping both ways on your first exchange to make sure you do get the size that is best for you. One cool little thing about Arai is they do a very good job of making it easy to get different cheek pads in different thicknesses. So when you pull these out, you'll see those here in a few minutes. There's a little tab on the back, shows you exactly what size cheek pad they are. You can get thicker, you can get thinner to fine tune that. Also with the crown, the actual comfort liner does have some adjustability now, and you still have those little 5mm peel-aways to adjust the fit, to fine tune it to get exactly how you want it. So take advantage of our fit guarantee. So little 360 view here. You're still gonna be DOT and Snell certified with this. Now Arai, they're a Japanese company, very traditional, and they're kind of one of those companies that, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The way that they do things, they feel is the best way, and that's probably why we're not seeing any major updates as far as on the inside with safety technology. I was kind of hoping that maybe they go to some sort of MIPS or some sort of rotational energy management system. They haven't done that. They're still utilizing, however, their same EPS liner, which is pretty unique. I'll get to that here. I'll even show you what the shell looks like before it's painted, before anything else is put into it. But our 7.5 shell shape is what Arai is known for. And anytime you look at any helmet they have, you notice that it's a very circular or very round shell. Now, this spoiler on the back, this is new. So before you just had the vents on top and then those little covers on top of those. Now you have this spoiler by design. It's going to help with the aerodynamics, again, trying to help reduce and eliminate buffing. But this is designed to break away if you do have a crash. But the reason that Arai makes their helmet so round like this is kind of their solution to rotational energy. They feel that the rounder the shell is, the more it's going to glance off of objects if you do go down, and it's not going to get caught or drag on anything and add any additional rotational forces to the rider's head or to the rider's neck. So R75, pretty sure it's what that means. It has a continuous radius curve of at least 75mm on that round part of the helmet. And like I said, the spoiler is designed to break away. Now, some of the changes that they did make with this shell, so there's 4 shell sizes available: extra small and small get their own shell size, medium and large are combined, and then you have extra large and double XL, so 4 shell sizes, but they shorten the helmet front to back, so it's not quite as long. And I'll explain why that was beneficial here in just a moment. But then they also increased the width down at the bottom. I guess some readers talked about, or riders talked about, how it was difficult to get the helmet on, so they made that just a little bit wider. So yeah, when you compare it to the XD4, that's when you're really gonna notice those differences. Because like I said, just looking at the XD5, it's kind of hard to really see outside of the peak, you know, how different it actually is, but it is quite a bit different looking. Now, the reason that making this helmet a little bit shorter front to back was beneficial is with the shield. So with the previous XD4, the shield, because the helmet was a little bit longer, it made a pretty severe curve on the shield, which some could say that it distorted the vision just a little bit. Now that the helmet's a little bit shorter, it gives a, not flat, but it doesn't make this curve as severe on the shield, so it's going to improve the rider's vision. So that was one of the reasons that they did that. I've heard people say that now this mouth guard sits pretty dang close to your mouth. Some people don't like that. The rider that I had tried it on, I didn't mention that to him when we put it on. It's not something that he brought up and talked about, but again, maybe if he wore his XD4 in this back-to-back, it would be something that he noticed. But, so again, a little bit shorter, a little bit wider. Now, talking about that shield, here's some of the cool things about this that we have loved about Arai helmets for years now. What we like is that you can just barely crack this thing. So a little side view here, just barely crack it. And what we like about that is you can just get that open. It gets airflow going inside. It's going to help with fogging. It's going to help with venting. But you don't have to have it high enough to where it's going to start to be in your field of view. You can just have it barely cracked and get some air going inside there. And then it snaps shut. You get a good positive lock all the way around that gasket to keep that air out. But that is one thing we've liked. On the way up, you're just going to have two detents, basically one about halfway all the way up. Also, another notable change is that this shield does come up higher now in this most upright position. That's just going to make sure it's not going to be in your field of view when you do have it up. But one of the changes that they made also was on the XD4, they actually had little built-in vents up here on the top. Those are now gone. So one of the updates that they've made is that this shield comes pin lock ready. Got it right here. So this will come in the box. For those that are familiar with pin lock, you know it's for anti-fogging. If you've never seen this before, it's an additional shield that actually just goes right on the inside, on the pins that you have inside the shield. And it's just kind of like a window. It's a dual pane, so it's separating the warm air from the hot or the cold air, and that's a really good system to help combat fogging, and that's what they've gone to now with the XD5. So those are the changes with the shield. What's nice though too is that if you remove the shield with their peak design, you can easily wear a set of goggles with this helmet. So if you're going to be doing more off-road riding, you don't want to have the shield on there. You can remove it. It's very easy to remove. I'll talk about that here in just a second, but very easy to wear a pair of goggles with this helmet with the peak on there. Another feature I do like about the peak is that it's got a lot of adjustability. So you can move this thing, oh gosh, it's by far got the most adjustment of any adventure touring helmet that I have seen. And that's, again, that's one of those features that you might not think about too much, but we love it. I can't tell you how many times on those rides you want to drop that thing to help block the sun early in the day, late in the afternoon, or if you are doing some off-road riding, you want to block some of that roost coming off the rear tire, you can really drop that thing down. And what I love too, you don't have to loosen or tighten anything. It just does it and it stays where you put it. You don't have to worry about this thing moving around. So that is a feature that we like. The Peak does have an all-new design. Again, you can see it's very different from the XD4. There, you know, the first thing you're gonna notice is it's gonna allow a lot more air to pass through. So two reasons for that. One, again, they're trying to help with the aerodynamics. They don't want to, or they want to reduce as much buffeting as they can and reduce neck strain. What's also nice too is that that's going to give direct airflow into the vents that you have on top of this helmet. So it's pretty unique, different looking peak there. Very easy to remove. As I said, to remove this peak, you just have this little piece here. All you do is just press that in, and then it pops this thing right off. So you lift the shield up, press this little tab in right here, and you pop that off really quickly. Now, if you want to go and use this for street riding, well, what you would do is you would just remove this screw right here, pop this peak off, and then these side plates just screw right back on to cover up the shield mechanism, and now you have a street helmet. So very easy to switch this between dual sport adventure, take that shield off, or take the peak off. Very easy to do all those adjustments. All right, let's talk about the venting. So these are some more updates that they've done. The vent on the mouth here in the front is larger, and you actually have multiple, so you have 3 set locations. You have closed, partially open, and then you have completely wide open, so that's easy to adjust. On the inside, you can actuate the vent from the inside as well, so you have open or closed. What's cool though is that if you have this front vent open and you have the inside vent closed, that will force more air up into the shield area and help with fogging, or you have them both open, you're getting all the airflow directly into your helmet. You can take this out easily to clean it. There's just one screw that holds that on. So that's an improvement over the XD4. If you do want to clean that, pop it out, slap it back in there. Very easy to do. Now underneath the peak, so here up on top, give you a little better view here, drop that down. So you've got this little click here, easy to find. That's going to open and close that vent right here on top. And again, that is getting direct airflow here underneath the peak. You've got this vent up here on the very top. That's actually got 3 locations, so close, partial, all the way open. And then you have this exhaust vent here in the back, which again, same thing. You've got 2 or 3 locations, closed, partial, all the way open, depending on how much airflow you want circulating through. And again, this spoiler, designed to make it more aerodynamic. I think it just gives a cool look to it. If you didn't have this on here and you just had a round shell, and honestly be a pretty boring looking helmet. So that adds some cool styling to it as well. And now on the back, last thing, you do have just a couple small little vents here on the back as well. So that's the outside of the helmet. Those are the changes. Now we're going to take a look at the inside here. Well, actually, before I do that, let me get to this. I didn't really talk about this yet. So the way that the shell is constructed is complex. Well, what they're calling is PBCLC2. So peripheral banded complex laminate construction. And this is not an XD5 shell, but it's going to be built the exact same way. Like I said, they use the same construction for all their helmets from dirt and street. But this is what the helmet looks like. Let me move this over a little bit. So what it is you have fiberglass and resins that are all hand laid that make up the shell of the helmet. And the banded part that they're talking about is, you can actually see it, is that here around the headband of the helmet and around the chin bar area, what they do is they put a band there because obviously the weakest point of any shell is where it's going to be cut. And so they put an additional band there to strengthen and reinforce that. So again, this is something Arai has done for years now. But like I said, all their shells hand laid in this are complex laminate construction, which makes a very lightweight but very strong shell design. Now on the inside, we'll get to the EPS here in just a moment, but let's talk about some other new features. So undo our D-ring here. Forgive me, it's a little bit difficult to do sometimes from this angle, but we'll get through it. Now the cheek pads on Arai helmets are pretty unique because they don't utilize snaps. And personally for me, I'm totally okay with that. There are some helmets that I've used where I've pulled the cheek pads out and the snap that's inside the EPS rips out of the helmet. It's useless at that point. Sometimes cheek pads are just a nightmare to try and get those snaps in. So I'm totally okay with the cheek pads in the Arai helmets not having those, and the way these work is pretty simple. Well, before I pull that out, let me just say you do have these emergency quick release tabs. So these actually have instructions on there. So if you need to get this helmet off a rider who has gone down, you want to get the cheek pads out first, so you can actually use these tabs just to pull and get the cheek pads out as easily as possible. Here's how you take these out. There's a little plastic tab right up here in the front that inserts in. So you basically just want to pull back on that, if I can see from this angle. And then the cheek pad just pops right out. So that's that little plastic tab that I was just talking about. So it takes a couple tries to get used to it, but once you do, very easy to remove, very easy to put back in. And something that I've talked about, again, talking about the comfort. So you see they've got their contour cheek pads, and like I had said earlier, right here on the back, there it is, 25 millimeter cheek pad. It says your left side. So if you want to go thicker or thinner, again, Arai makes it easy to do that. This cover right here is also removable. Very easy to take off. So if you do some off-road riding, if you're getting hot and sweaty, you want to take these out, wash them, air dry them, put them back on. Makes it very easy to do so, but you're not worrying about having to wash the padding or anything on the inside. Also new is they did add speaker cutouts now for this helmet. You can see them right there on the inside. So the speaker cutout is partially on the inside of the helmet. The other part of it does rest right here on the inside of that cheek pad, but they're nice and deep. So even for nowadays with these thicker speakers that you're seeing with Bluetooth comms units, should not have an issue getting those to fit inside there. So let me pull out this other cheek pad real quick. All right, comfort liner is next. So the comfort liner does have some snaps. All right, got that out of there. So here is your comfort liner. So pretty crazy looking, but I had mentioned earlier there's some adjustability. So right here on the back, you can adjust this length just to kind of move around this top portion. So experiment with it. Doesn't hurt to try, but they do give you not a ton, but a little bit of adjustability. You'd be surprised at how much moving this comfort piece up here on top, just a few millimeters in one direction, can change the fit. But you've got that piece. Then right here on the side, as I had mentioned, they've got these 5mm peel away. So if you put it on and you feel like it's just too tight or a little too tight around the crown of your head, you can peel these off and then put it back on there and adjust the fit doing that. But again, you can wash this, let it air dry. I would probably hand wash this. You can see there's a lot of pieces on here. I'm not gonna say it's fragile, but I probably wouldn't want to throw this in the wash machine. I would hand wash this and then let it dry. Now on the inside, as far as the shell goes, the EPS liner, like I said, they didn't add any safety tech to their helmet, but here's what's unique that Arai has been doing for years. I've had this handy. So this is what the EPS liner looks like on the inside of their helmets. Looking at it, you would think, it doesn't look too crazy, but if you look closely, you notice that there's all the different colors in this EPS. These different colors are different densities, and you can see too that the thickness of this changes all throughout. So what Arai does is they go through and they'll put softer pieces of EPS in the areas that they need a little bit more energy absorption. Maybe the areas where you're more likely to have maybe more of a low speed impact, but then say like in the headband area up here in the front, in other areas they use a thicker, more denser EPS liner for those higher speed, bigger impacts. So they just figure out where the foam is going to, or the EPS is going to be needed and what density, and then they use that to build their EPS liner. And again, it's something that they've been doing for years. And like I said, for Arai, I kind of feel like they have that if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. And they've stuck to what they've known. They've stuck to what they've done well. And that is it. That is the new Arai XD5. Very similar in a lot of ways, but also very different in others. So like I said, if you'd ridden in the XD4, I think you're gonna like the XD5. There's not enough changes to me that I feel like you're gonna think it's an completely all new helmet, just those little subtle nuances, but I would love to hear your feedback if you've picked one of these up. Is it better? Is it worse? What did you like? Are there things that you liked more about the XD4? I would love to hear that feedback. It's available in a lot of cool colorways. To grab yours, click on the link or head over to RockyMountainATVMC.com. We ship for free over $75. And as always, if you want to stay up to date on videos like this, get subscribed to the Rocky Mountain YouTube channel. I'm Chase, and we'll see you on the trails.